Your Honor, I don't care what she says. My family donates more to this city in a year than she'll earn in her lifetime. So let's skip the drama and tell me what this costs. I heard those words come out of his mouth, and I knew this was going to be a morning I would never forget. My name is Frank Caprio, and I've been a judge at Providence Municipal Court for decades. I've seen thousands of cases. I've heard every excuse. I've watched people lie, cry, and everything in between. But what happened in my courtroom that Tuesday morning was something different. Something that made my blood run cold and my heart break at the same time. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, no matter how much money they have, you'll want to see what happens next. Let me take you back to the beginning. It was a clear morning in May. The sun was shining through the tall windows of the courtroom. My bailiff, Officer Torres, stood by the door with his usual serious face. The gallery was about half full. Some people were waiting for their own cases. Others were law students taking notes. A few were just curious citizens watching justice happen. Officer Torres cleared his throat and read from his clipboard. Case 2026 TR 4782, the State of Rhode Island versus Brendan Cole Harrington. I looked up from my desk. Good morning. Please step forward. A young woman walked to the front first. She was maybe 24 or 25 years old. She wore light blue scrubs with small yellow flowers on them. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She carried a worn cloth bag over her shoulder. Her hands were shaking a little as she stood before me. Good morning, Your Honor, she said quietly. Her voice was soft but respectful. Good morning. Please state your name for the record. Maria Santos, Your Honor. I gave her a gentle smile. Ms. Santos, I see you're wearing scrubs. Are you a nurse? A nursing assistant, sir. I work at St. Joseph's Hospital. Night shift, usually. I take care of elderly patients. That's good, honest work. Thank you for what you do. I meant it. People like Maria keep our world running. They work long hours for modest pay, and they rarely get the thanks they deserve. She nodded, and I saw her eyes get a little wet. Thank you, Your Honor. I looked at the file in front of me. Ms. Santos, you're here today because on April 19th you were involved in a traffic incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. I was driving home from my shift. It was about 7:30 in the morning. I stopped at a red light on Waterman Street. And then his car hit mine from behind. Before I could ask another question, I heard footsteps behind her. Loud footsteps, confident, almost aggressive. I looked up. A young man walked into my courtroom like he owned it. He was 22 years old, according to the file, but he carried himself like he thought he was king of the world. He wore a dark blue suit that probably cost $3,000. His watch was a Rolex Submariner, the kind that costs more than most people's cars. His brown hair was styled with too much gel. His face had that look I've seen before, the look of someone who's never been told no. Brendan Cole Harrington. He didn't look at me. He barely looked at Maria. He pulled out his phone and started typing as he stood next to her. I waited. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I spoke. Mr. Harrington. He didn't look up. Mr. Harrington, I said again, louder this time. He glanced up, annoyed. Yeah? I felt the temperature in the room drop. People don't say yeah in my courtroom, not like that. Mr. Harrington, please put your phone away. You're in a courtroom. Show some respect. He sighed like I was asking him to climb a mountain. He slipped the phone into his pocket but kept his hand on it. Fine. Can we make this quick? I have a tea time at 11. I heard a few gasps from the gallery. Even Officer Torres raised his eyebrows. I kept my voice calm. This will take as long as it needs to take. This is a court of law, not a country club. Do you understand? He shrugged. Sure. Whatever. I took a slow breath. I've learned over the years that patience is a judge's greatest tool. Lose your temper and you lose control. Ms. Santos, I said, turning back to her, please tell me what happened that morning. Maria nodded. Her voice was steadier now. I was stopped at the light, completely stopped. And then I felt this huge crash from behind. My whole car jerked forward. My neck snapped back. I hit my head on the headrest. Were you injured? Yes, Your Honor. I went to the emergency room that same day. I have whiplash. The doctor said I need physical therapy, but she paused. Her voice got quieter. But I can't afford it right now. My insurance has a high deductible. I nodded slowly. I see. And what happened after the collision? I got out of my car. I was shaking. I was scared. I walked back to see if he was okay, and he was on his phone, laughing. Laughing. Yes, sir. He was talking to someone. He said something like, "Dude, I just rear-ended some girl. It's hilarious. She's freaking out." I looked at Brendan. His face didn't change. He didn't deny it. He just stared at the wall like he was bored. "Go on, Ms. Santos." I asked him if he was okay. I asked for his insurance. He barely looked at me. He took a picture of my license plate with his phone, tossed a business card at me, and drove away. He left the scene. He came back like 10 minutes later. A police officer had arrived by then. The officer made him come back. I looked at the file. Sure enough, there was a note from Officer Brennan. Defendant left scene. Returned after dispatch contact. Leaving the scene of an accident. That's not just careless. That's illegal. I looked at Brendan. "Mr. Harrington, is what Ms. Santos said accurate?" He finally looked at me. "Look, I tapped her bumper. It wasn't a big deal. She's making it sound like an action movie. I left because I had somewhere to be. I came back, didn't I? You left the scene of an accident. That's a violation of the law. I came back. After a police officer tracked you down." He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes. In my courtroom. "Mr. Harrington," I said slowly, "do you understand the seriousness of what you did?" "Honestly, no. It was a fender bender. Her car is old anyway. Probably did her a favor. Maybe she'll get an upgrade." I heard Maria inhale sharply. I saw her hands tighten into fists, but she didn't say anything. She just stood there trying not to cry. I felt something twist in my chest. Anger, sadness, disappointment. "Mr. Harrington," I said, "you hit another person's vehicle. You injured her. You mocked her, and then you left. Do you feel any remorse at all?" He shrugged again. That same careless shrug. "Not really. Accidents happen." I put the file down. I leaned forward. "Let me explain something to you. Ms. Santos works night shifts taking care of people who can't take care of themselves. She drives an old car because that's what she can afford. She now has medical bills because of your carelessness, and you think it's funny. I didn't say it was funny. Ms. Santos testified that you were laughing on the phone. That was a private conversation. You made it public when you said it at the scene of an accident you caused." Brendan's jaw tightened. I could see I was getting to him. Good. I picked up another paper. "Mr. Harrington, I have the police report here. Officer Brennan noted that you smelled of alcohol. You refused a breathalyzer test. Is that true?" "I had one drink the night before. I wasn't drunk." "You refused the test." "Because I know my rights. My dad's lawyer told me never to take those things." "Of course. The lawyer card. I've heard it 1,000 times. I also have your driving record here," I continued. 3 speeding tickets in the last 2 years. 2 warnings for reckless driving. You're 22 years old, and you already drive like the road belongs to you. I'm a good driver. You rear-ended someone while distracted and then left the scene. That's not good driving." He didn't respond. He just stared at me with this cold look, like I was wasting his time. I decided to dig deeper. "Ms. Santos, do you have any other evidence?" She nodded and pulled out her phone. Her hands were still shaking. "Your Honor, after the accident, he sent me text messages." I raised my eyebrows. "What kind of messages?" She handed her phone to Officer Torres, who brought it to me. I looked at the screen. The messages were from an unknown number, but Maria had screenshots of the contact info. It matched Brendan's phone number from the police report. The first message, "Don't bother filing a claim. My insurance will bury you in paperwork." The second message, "You should be grateful I didn't just drive off for good. People like you don't win against people like me." The third message, drop it, or I'll make this a lot harder for you. I read them twice. Then I looked up at Brendan. Mr. Harrington, did you send these messages to Miss Santos? He hesitated. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable. I was just trying to handle it privately. This isn't handling it privately, this is intimidation. I was giving her advice. You were threatening her. That's not, I'll make this a lot harder for you, I read aloud. That's a threat, Mr. Harrington. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I put the phone down. Is there anything else, Ms. Santos? She nodded. Your Honor, there's one more thing. There was a security camera at the gas station on the corner. I got the footage. Officer Torres took a USB drive from her and brought it to my clerk. A moment later, the video played on the screen in the courtroom. I watched. The footage was clear, crystal clear. It showed Brendan's black BMW speeding down Waterman Street. His head was down. He was looking at his phone. His car didn't even slow down as it approached the red light where Maria was stopped. It slammed into her Toyota at full speed. Her car lurched forward into the intersection. Then, exactly as Maria said, Brendan got out of his car. He looked at the damage. He pulled out his phone and made a call. He was smiling, actually smiling. Maria got out of her car, holding her neck. She walked toward him. The video had no sound, but I could see her mouth moving. She was clearly asking if he was okay. Brendan barely looked at her. He tossed something, probably the business card, onto the ground near her feet. Then he got back in his car and drove away. The video ended. The courtroom was silent. I looked at Brendan. His face was red now. He knew he was caught. Mr. Harrington, I said quietly, you just watched the same video I did. Do you have anything to say? He clenched his fists. Look, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, okay? Can we just settle this? Settle this? Yeah. Tell me what the fine is. I'll write a check right now. We can all move on. I stared at him. You think this is about money? Isn't everything? That's when he said it. The words that made this case unforgettable. Brendan looked me right in the eyes and said, Your Honor, I don't care what she says. My family donates more to this city in a year than she'll earn in her lifetime. So let's skip the drama and tell me what this costs. I'll buy my way out. The courtroom exploded. People gasped. Someone shouted, Are you kidding me? Officer Torres actually stepped forward, like he was ready to intervene. But I didn't move. I just sat there. I let the silence stretch for 10 long seconds. I wanted Brendan to hear his own words echo in that room. I wanted him to feel what he'd just done. Then I spoke. My voice was low, calm, but every word carried weight. Mr. Harrington, sit down. Your Honor, sit down. He sat. I stood up. I walked around my desk. I stood in front of him so he had to look up at me. Brendan, I said, using his first name on purpose, let me tell you something about this courtroom. This is not a store. This is not a car dealership. This is not a place where you can wave your checkbook and make problems disappear. He started to speak, but I held up my hand. You just told me that your family's money makes you more important than Ms. Santos. You just told me that because you're rich, you think you're above the law. You just told me that justice is for sale. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You meant every word. I saw it in your eyes. I turned to look at Maria. She was crying now, quiet tears rolling down her face. Brendan, do you know what Ms. Santos does every night? She takes care of people who can't feed themselves, who can't walk, who can't remember their own names. She cleans them. She comforts them. She holds their hands when they're scared. She does this for $12 an hour. I turned back to him. And you drive a car that costs more than she makes in 3 years. You wear a watch that costs more than her rent, and you think that makes you better than her. Your Honor, I'm not finished. You hit her car because you were on your phone. You laughed about it. You threatened her. You tried to scare her into silence. And now you stand in my courtroom and tell me you'll buy your way out. My voice got louder. Brendan, let me make something very clear to you. In this courtroom, your last name means nothing. Your family's money means nothing. Your expensive suit means nothing. Here, you are equal to everyone else. Here, the law applies to you just like it applies to Ms. Santos, just like it applies to me. I saw his face change. The arrogance cracked. For the first time, he looked scared. You said you'll buy your way out. Let me tell you what you just bought yourself. I walked back to my desk. I picked up my gavel. I took a long breath. Brendan Cole Harrington, I find you guilty of the following: leaving the scene of an accident, reckless driving, distracted driving, and witness intimidation. Here is your sentence. I looked right at him. First, you will pay a fine of $15,000. $5,000 for each violation, plus additional penalties. This money will go to the city's Victim Assistance Fund. His mouth fell open. Second, you will pay full restitution to Ms. Santos. That includes her medical bills, her car repairs, and compensation for her pain and suffering. I'm ordering you to pay her $25,000. And Brendan, I'm ordering you to hand-deliver a cashier's check to her within 14 days. Your Honor, I'm not done. Third, your driver's license is suspended for 1 year. You will not drive. You will not sit behind the wheel of any vehicle. If I hear that you've driven even once, I will hold you in contempt and you will go to jail. He looked like he'd been slapped. Fourth, you will complete 500 hours of community service, not just any community service. You will work at St. Joseph's Hospital, where Ms. Santos works. You will mop floors. You will clean bedpans. You will do whatever the staff tells you to do, and you will do it every Saturday and Sunday for the next year. I heard people in the gallery start to clap, but I held up my hand. I wasn't finished. Fifth, you will write a handwritten apology letter to Ms. Santos, not typed. Handwritten. It will be at least 2 pages long. You will explain what you did wrong, why it was wrong, and what you've learned. You will read it aloud in this courtroom in 30 days, and Ms. Santos will decide if she accepts it. Your Honor, sixth, you will create and record a public service announcement about the dangers of distracted driving. It will be shown in every high school in Providence. Your face will be on it. Your name will be on it. You will tell students about your mistake and warn them not to make the same one. Brendan's face was white now. And seventh, because you showed contempt for this court with your "buy my way out" comment, I'm holding you in contempt. Bailiff, take him into custody. Officer Torres moved forward. Wait, what? Brendan stood up fast. You can't. I can, and I am. You will spend the next 72 hours in the county jail. That's 3 days, Brendan. 3 days to think about what you said. 3 days to think about how your words hurt Ms. Santos. 3 days to understand that actions have consequences. Officer Torres put handcuffs on Brendan's wrists. Brendan's eyes were wide. He looked at his lawyer in the gallery, a man in a gray suit who'd been silent the whole time. Dad's going to hear about this, Brendan shouted. I leaned forward. Good. Tell him. Tell him that his son stood in a court of law and tried to buy justice. Tell him that his money didn't save you. Maybe he'll learn something too. Officer Torres led Brendan toward the side door. Brendan looked back at me one more time. His face was a mix of shock, anger, and something else. Maybe fear. Maybe, just maybe, the first hint of shame. The door closed behind him. The courtroom was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, people began to clap. It started with one person in the back, then another, then the whole gallery was applauding. I held up my hand. Please, this isn't a show. This is justice. I turned to Maria. She was still crying, but now she was smiling too. Ms. Santos, I'm sorry you had to go through this. No one should be treated the way Mr. Harrington treated you. I hope this gives you some sense of peace. Thank you, Your Honor, she whispered. Thank you so much. You're a good person, Maria. Don't let anyone ever make you feel small. You're worth more than all the money in Brendan Harrington's bank account. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Court adjourned. 3 months later, I was sitting in my chambers when Officer Torres knocked on my door. Judge, you have a visitor. I looked up. Who? Brendan Harrington. I was surprised, but I told Torres to send him in. Brendan walked through the door. He looked different. He wasn't wearing a designer suit. He wore jeans and a plain black shirt. His hair wasn't gelled. He looked humbler. Your Honor, I'm sorry to bother you, he said quietly. What can I do for you, Brendan? He sat down across from me. I just wanted to say thank you. I raised my eyebrows. Thank me? Yeah, for what you did. I was angry at first. I thought you were unfair. I thought you hated me. I didn't hate you, Brendan. I was disappointed. I know. I get it now. He took a breath. I finished my community service hours yesterday, all 500, and it changed me. How so? I met people at the hospital, real people, people like Ms. Santos, people who work so hard for so little. I saw what they go through every day. I helped a man who couldn't walk get to the bathroom. I held a woman's hand while she cried because she missed her family, and I realized I've been a spoiled brat my whole life. I nodded slowly. That's a big realization. I apologized to Miss Santos, face to face. I gave her the money. I told her I was sorry for everything. She forgave me. I don't know why, but she did. Because she's a better person than most. Yeah. He looked down at his hands. I'm going back to school in the fall. I'm changing my major. I want to study social work. I want to help people, real people, not just throw money at problems. I felt something warm in my chest. Pride, maybe. Hope. Brendan, that's wonderful. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Your Honor, and I'm sorry for everything. Apology accepted. He stood up and shook my hand. Then he left. After he was gone, I sat alone in my office. I looked out the window at the city I've served for so many years. People ask me sometimes why I still do this job, why I sit in that courtroom day after day, hearing case after case. This is why. Because every once in a while someone walks into my courtroom who needs to learn a lesson. And if I do my job right, they walk out a better person. Justice isn't just about punishment, it's about teaching. It's about showing people that actions have consequences, that words have weight, and that money can't buy character. Brendan Harrington thought he could buy his way out. He learned that some things, respect, dignity, justice, can't be bought at any price, and that's a lesson worth teaching.